Welcome to another howtonetwork.net video. In this video we're going to show you how to configure a router to be a DHCP server. So we've set up a very simple network. We have our laptop or our PC and we're going to set this up to use DHCP to discover an address, and I've got a crossover cable connected to the fast Ethernet interface on my router. And we're going to put address 172.16.1.1/24 on the fast Ethernet. So we've got our hyperterminal session open on the router as usual. We'll go into configuration mode, and if it isn't already turned on your router, we want to turn on service DHCP. This will configure the router to be a DHCP server. Next thing we'll do is configure our pool. It's in two steps. We'll call the DHCP pool and give it a name. In this instance it's pool 1, and then next we'll add on the address pool, so the network pool that we're going to use. This is 172.16.1. and then anything after that. A couple of options here. We can send some TCP settings over to our hosts. We're going to give it default gateway of 192.168.1.1 and a DNS server address. In fact, we'll add on two DNS server addresses, 192.168.1.5 and 1.6. So these settings will be passed to our hosts when they obtain an address off the router. Next thing we're going to do is add some excluded addresses. These are the addresses that we don't want the router to hand out. It could be printers on the network. In this instance, we don't need to hand out 172.16.1.1. This is because it's going to be applied to our fast Ethernet interface. The other thing you need to bear in mind is if the router is handing out IP addresses, it needs to be on the same local area network as the interface of the router. So in this instance, it couldn't be handing out addresses in the 10 network, because our fast Ethernet interface is in the 172.16.1 network. So we've configured the IP address on our fast Ethernet interface of our router, and remember this is the connection that's going out to the host on our network. The next thing we're going to do is configure the network interface card on our PC. And what we want to do is go down to our TCP IP settings, go to properties, and just make sure that it's using DHCP, so we haven't got any static IP addresses in there. It's going to obtain an IP address automatically. Now we could go to command line and now issue an IP config release and renew, but on Windows XP we can just right click, click on repair, and that will do a DHCP lookup now and try and obtain an address from the router. So it's clearing all the settings down on the network card, and hopefully it will now have been allocated an IP address from the router. A quick way to check this is to open up a command prompt in Windows XP and type in ipconfig/all, and this will tell us all of our settings for our network cards. So at the top here we've got our local area network connection. We can see what our MAC address is. It ends in 22.81. We've been allocated the first address in the pool, 172.16.1.2, and you can see the DHCP DNS server addresses and the default gateway have all been allocated to the PC. We can go back to our router now, onto our command prompts. And what we're going to do is check to see the settings that have been allocated by the router to the PC. So the command here is show IP DHCP. The command's actually binding, it doesn't have an S on the end, but the good thing about having the router there is you can always put a question mark in to see what the correct command is. So we've got a few different options here. The one we want is binding, and we can see the first address in the pool has been allocated to our MAC, the correct MAC address for our network card, which ends in 22.81. The other thing to note is the router prepends every MAC address with a 01. You can use that later on if you want to have sticky MAC addresses to reserve on your pool. Just as a sanity check now, we're going to ping from the router to the PC, and we'll do a quick ARP lookup. And we can see we've got an ARP entry for our MAC address for our network card. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, come and visit howtonetwork.net.